everybody. This is your girl Habiba. Thank you so much for joining in. I really appreciate it. This is actually my first YouTube live, so there's a lot of excitement. I'm excited. I'm nervous, but I'm sure it's gonna go well. Today, I have a special treat for you. I'm here with the CEO of HALP, and I'm sure a lot of you have heard what's going on in terms of Immigration Canada, in terms of how new policies are going to affect international students. So, without further ado, I'm going to hand it over to the CEO of HALP, Matthew, to tell us a bit about himself and about HALP. And a lot of you have sent in some questions, so we're just going to go through those questions and we'll take it from there. Hi, Matthew.
Hello, thank you so much for having me. Really excited about this. Also, my first time being YouTube live, so we will
Uh,
see and learn through it together. But this is great, and I appreciate the introduction. My name is Matthew, co-founder and CEO of HALP. It's a platform that makes it really easy for students to get accepted, get a visa, and get set up in their study abroad country. We work with students that are not in Canada yet, targeting coming to Canada, or people that are in Canada and want to switch or extend their studies. If you qualify, you receive a free admissions coach, free immigration lawyer, and then it's kind of like an easy, simple to do process from your computer with high acceptance and visa approval rates. So that's kind of the situation.
Okay, so I partner with Help, and honestly, I've only heard good reviews from my subscribers who have used them. And one of the reasons I love working with them is the fact that all their services are absolutely free. It doesn't get any better than that, to be honest. But let's hear a bit more. So I had a few questions which I'm going to read out to Matt. And so, Matt, can you just briefly explain this new changes, the announcement
Hmm.
that came in, I think it was last week from Immigration Canada, and how it's going to
Yeah.
affect international students?
Yeah, absolutely. I think there's a couple things to talk through. First is that, all this came out last Monday. There is still more policy and procedure and process that will come out and be announced, but we do know a few things, right? First, the federal government announced that they will be putting a cap on the total number of students that will be able to come and study for the next 2 years. The number is about 364,000 students. There's a couple important things here. The cap pertains, and that number pertains to students doing like bachelor's, diploma, certificates, post grad diplomas, that type of thing. It does not apply to students studying any course that is at the master's level, and or a course that is or isn't master's but is in nursing or skilled trades. So there are still programs that operate outside the cap, but then within the cap, they're basically limiting that. And what they're going to be doing is dividing up that 364,000 equally by the different provinces. So I don't know if you're familiar with Canadian geography, but BC would get some, Ontario, Nova Scotia, and everyone in between based on your population size. Really, what that means is when you are applying and considering what it is that you want to do, you need to understand, is the program you're applying for fall within or without of the cap? And if it's within the cap, what does that mean? Um, so that's the first thing. The second thing is students that are attending or applying for schools that are curriculum license agreements, or PPPs is how you'll see them referred to in the news, have lost, will no longer qualify for post-grad work permits. It's really important because a lot of students don't know that they're at a licensed campus, and or most of the reason that we're doing this is to get co-ops and then get jobs and get post-grad work permits after that may or may not have a path to PR, or you go home with just Canadian work experience. Either way, it's really important to know if your chosen program in school qualifies you for post grad work permit, or if you should switch into one that does, and what that means for your eligibility. And the last thing is renewals or extensions of study permits. So, students that are already in Canada, if you would like to apply for an extended program, if you're in a PPP program and you want to switch out, if you are working right now but you want to do another 1 or 2 years of school to extend your post grad work permit timeline, those are outside of the cap. So, the programs that are not capped, you can submit study permit applications for right now, and it's open and going. For programs that are under the cap, those are paused right now. You can still submit to the schools and receive a letter of acceptance. However, until the provinces work with the schools to figure out their attestation form process, the federal government is not going to accept or review study permit applications. So that would be for the non-nursing and skilled trades, undergrad, diploma, certificate, bachelor's, that type of thing. So those
Okay.
are kind of the main things. And what we don't know yet is how the provinces are going to allocate their piece to the schools. And we also don't know what the process for getting the attestation form, which is a new form to apply for the study permit, is going to be. However, this exists in Quebec, and it's basically just a separate thing you apply for once you have an LOA, and it kind of takes a week generally. So it probably will end up looking something like that.
Okay. And so, in your opinion, what is the next step for international students? Because this information has hit them hard. It's a
Yes.
lot to take in,
Yeah.
but what is the next steps?
Absolutely. So I'll try to break it down by the type of student that you might be. If you are a student that is not in Canada right now, that is applying to a school in Canada, any program, any school for masters, green light. Submit your application, you'll get accepted, hopefully, and then they're processing study permits. Master's level is good to go. If you are doing masters or a non-masters, but in nursing, like a healthcare, personal support work, and or skilled trades, apply. It's 100%, and you're a student that's not in Canada already. Those are open and good to go. You'll get accepted by the school, and you can submit your study permit application because they fall outside of the cap in the attestation process. If you are a student in Canada that wants to switch schools or apply for a new extended program, or switch into something that's PGWP eligible, do it. Those are all like the government is open for that right now. That's a study permit update. That can move forward and is fully being serviced right now. The only one that's a bit of a yellow light is if you are a student not already in Canada that's applying for a non healthcare or skilled trades degree like business, IT, project management, whatever, in the level of diploma, BA, undergrad, certificate, these areas, you can still apply to the school and you can still receive an acceptance letter from the school, but then we will have to wait until we're able to figure out how the government, the provincial governments are going to introduce the attestation processes so that we can get you that form to then apply for the study permit. So you'll just be waiting for that. So if you're okay to wait, that's fine. And from what we're hearing from the schools, like they still want people to apply. They're going to do first come first serve. They'll have everybody ready, and then once the study permit piece opens, which we're hearing could be as early as 2 to 3 weeks from now, we'll
Oh,
push it through. Now, the federal government gave them until March 31st to for the provinces to introduce their processes, but obviously the provinces and the schools are incentivized to get that set up a little bit quicker because they need students that are studying, all those other areas at the certificate, diploma, postgrad, bachelor's level to come, right? And so we don't know exactly when that will happen, but you're still able to apply. Then we will just wait and do the study permit afterwards. And help can any of the types of students I just talked about, we can help you out for free if you qualify and verify.
okay. Thanks for that. A
Hmm.
question that I really get a lot,
Hmm.
with a lot of my subscribers have sent to me is, what are some great schools and programs that international students can target in with your expertise at HALP? What would you
Yeah.
recommend in terms of schools first and then programs?
Yeah, absolutely. And I think this is what's really important is to look at the biggest factor in getting here is getting the study permit, and the government processes and oftentimes wants study permits in areas where we have labor shortages or in demand jobs. Right now that's healthcare, skilled trades, and STEM. So some of the schools that we think are great, and by the way, they're all strong in different areas. Here are just some examples. Trent University, Ottawa University, Laurentian University are all really strong. Fanshawe College is another one that's good. And then look at nursing programs at the master's level, personal support work, anything in healthcare, even on the admin side, is strong. Especially if you've done an undergrad and you've worked in the healthcare space in your home country for kind of like 2 or 3 years. That's a really really strong candidate coming through to do like a 1 to 2 year program, and then the hiring rates are really high. Those are some examples in Ontario that we find accept really great students and that the government seems to process applications pretty quickly. And those ones would still be open right now.
And just to confirm, these universities that you've mentioned, Trent University, Fanshawe, are they designated learning institutions?
Yep, these are all designated learning institutions that would qualify you for post grad work permits. For example, Ottawa University, Laurentian University, Trent University, those are university degree granting DLIs. Fanshawe is a public college degree granting DLI with PGWP eligibility. We have a list of all of them. I was kind of just naming like five or six that seem to be really popular with our students right now.
Okay.
Um, there are and then there are different things if you're looking for co-op versus not, or a 1 year versus a more flexible scheduled program, that type of thing, but those are some good ones. But yeah, those are all DLIs that are PGWP eligible,
Okay.
because there are designated learning institutions where you wouldn't be able to qualify for postgrad work permits as well.
Okay. And I'm just looking at the chat, and there are
Mhm.
questions about master programs. So I remember you said in the beginning, so maybe this person, Bilal, maybe they missed it. You said master programs are not affected by.
Yeah, they are processing study permits for those right now, master's level under any course, and or master's or non-master's level nursing, like healthcare related programs and skilled trades,
Okay.
as of right now.
Okay. So it doesn't matter what course it is, if it's a master's program, like master's in teaching, it doesn't matter. It's still being processed.
Correct, as of right now, yeah, and things may change, but the master's level programs are outside of the cap.
Okay. So for instance, I'm an international student. I want to study in Canada, and then I reach out to HALP. Can you talk me through exactly what happens? And a lot of questions people ask me is, what is the advantage of
Mhm.
using HALP?
Yeah, absolutely. So let's start there. The benefit is that if you make it through our qualification and verification process, you get a free admissions coach and immigration lawyer. So these are the people that will help you discover the programs, build your application, submit your application to the school on your behalf. Then once you're accepted, they will do the immigration lawyer does that with you on the legal side. So you save about $2,000 in fees, but also we have the best approval rates by destination country for certain ones that we work with, specifically Ghana, Nigeria, are pretty high. So you have a better chance of getting accepted and getting the visa, and it's free. So that would be the advantage. It's also fast on your phone, like or computer, or whatever, like done over the internet. So you don't have to drive or waste time or that type of thing. And the coaches are there for you the whole way through. Oftentimes, also, we can get some other fees waived, whether it's an application fee to a school or maybe a discount on the tuition in the form of a scholarship. That's not never guaranteed. That's a school by school thing, but it happens. Um, the way that it actually works is you sign up for free, help.co. I know that you have a link that's attributed to you. Um, and they would answer. The first thing you do is fill out the intake questions. It's really quick, takes like 2 minutes. Based on that, someone will reach out either by call or text, depending what you select, to ask you to upload some documents, to verify your documents, to learn about you. Basically, what we're trying to understand is how well you fit with what the school and the government wants, because it's not up to help to decide who gets in and who doesn't. It's up to a lot of the times the school, and the government is who issues the study permit. And we know that they want students to be able to show $21,000 of cost of living expenses plus whatever the tuition is. Usually it's about 35,000. They know that they want to see, transcripts, valid passport, that you've made a tuition deposit, and that you have a legitimate letter of acceptance from a school. So what we're trying to do is just understand where you are in the process, how you fit with the criteria that the government is looking for, and the school, so that we can move you through that point quickly. If for whatever reason you receive communications from us that maybe it's not the right fit right now or that type of thing, it doesn't mean that you're, incapable or that it's not the right thing. It just means that we think that we are better. You might be better off working with somebody else than with us. It's kind of just the way that that works.
Okay. Before we get to the next question,
Mhm.
again, more questions in the chat. But before I answer I ask the next question. I see some people have just joined. Thank you so much for joining. Can you just in the chat put the country you're joining it from? If you're joining in from Nigeria, which is where I'm from, or here in Canada, Just let me know where you're joining in from. Um, there's a question here. I'm not sure I understand it. So, Grace, if you can type it out again and explain. You said, what about law under the professionals? I'm not sure I know what that means. So, if you don't mind explaining in the chat, and we'll get back to that.
Mhm.
But the next question I have is, um, why is HALP the best option for serious students? And can you explain what you mean by serious students? Because I have a few of my subscribers come back to me and they're like, HALP says we have to be serious. What does that mean?
Yeah,
Um,
I think that serious might not be the right. Yeah, we need to figure out a better way to say that. Basically, the people that are most like ready and able, and that it's in their best interest to go. I think there are a lot of people out there that are fed the wrong information at different times and are maybe put in a position not to succeed, or that's not in their best interest. The
okay.
reason that we are best set up to serve students that are coming into Canada is that we are located here. We know the schools, we know the provincial and federal government officials, we understand what they're looking for, and then we get you through that in a way that saves you money. So we know the likelihood of a student becoming successful. We understand what the different stakeholders care about, and then we're able to advise you based on that, right? The coaches that you work with and the immigration lawyers are based in Canada and understand the system, and a lot of them were international students themselves, right? So that's kind of just in terms of that piece. You also save about $2,000 in the process when you become a Help Verified member. That means that the admissions coach is free, no upfront cost. The immigration legal piece is free, no upfront cost or hidden fees ever. The only things you'll have to pay for is sometimes the schools have application fees. That's goes to the school, not to us. And then once you're accepted to the school, you have to make a tuition deposit. So you'll have to be able to pay for that as well. The deposit ranges in what it is, but then that's what gets you your letter of acceptance, which we then take to the study permit office to apply for this for the visa, right? Um, Serious for us means that you're not essentially just like window shopping around. So a lot of students will join and not actually be so. A lot of people come and you already know exactly where you want to go, when you want to do it, why you want to do it, and the job you're looking for. It's just that. And then we will match your profile against what the Canadian government is looking for and then tell you whether or not we think that this makes sense. And just because, some students that don't end up working with help, that doesn't mean that you're incapable. It doesn't mean that your dreams are done. You can still apply on your own. You can still try to find a different support mechanism. It's just we've done a lot of work and have a lot of information over the years, and we would never want to set you up to spend money on application fees and visa processing fees just to not, when we know it's probably unlikely that something could occur at that time, and that you can always change that based on your candidacy and different things. But that would be the main piece in the decision is, and that's why serious isn't a great way to say it, because a lot of the students are serious and are capable and are legit. It's you just might not always match up with what the government's looking for, and they're the ones that ultimately decide, not us. So we're just trying to make sure that we don't waste anyone's time and energy and that type of thing, because making just trying to make sure that it makes sense from the beginning.
Okay. Thank you. This
Hmm.
question came privately, and this I have a skeptic here asking, um, basically what they're saying is immigration consultants around the world charge thousands of Canadian dollars.
Hmm.
What makes how different that their services are free? It sounds too good to be true.
Yeah, we still make money from the schools when you go. So the way that it works is that when a student is successful and they're set up and they go through their education journey, the school will offer us a fee in return for like providing them an amazing student and helping that whole thing go true. We don't guide you to any specific school because we work with tens of thousands of students. It doesn't really matter where it is that you want to go. It's about your best fit, but that's where we earn the revenue from. And then we built technology that allows us to have lawyers and coaches serving a high number of students at one time. So we have operating leverage in the way that it works so that we can pay the legal fees and the admissions coach fees out of the money that we get from the schools and still be able to make a profit. The other people that we're up against, like independent agents or folks that don't have their own custom built technology platform, they can only work with maybe 10 to 20 students at a time, right? We can do kind of 200 to 300 at a time per coach. And so in their case, they need to charge you up front and charge for all these different things. They can't work with enough people to make enough money for it to make sense. So it's just a different business model. But it, it also, there's no guarantees, and but like we don't ever charge or anything like that. That part might sound too good to be true. You're able to sign up, have a call with a coach, talk to people, read the reviews. It's a very real, trustworthy thing. We can't guarantee admissions and study permit approval rates. I will say that for Nigeria, we have an 83% study permit approval rate. I think everyone else around the world is like closer to 55 to 60%. So we it does work. It's just never a sure thing. And then you will still have to pay the fees to the schools and to the governments. Like we can't, pay that on your behalf. But because we're able to work with so many students so successfully, we are able to absorb the cost of the coaching and the immigration.
Okay. Um, that was really helpful. This is my
Hmm.
question. I'm just curious because I'm from Nigeria. Why does Nigeria have such a high approval rate? 83%. That's amazing. I'm just
Yeah,
curious.
we have a very high bar for quality, and the Nigerian students are really great. Like we have a ton of people that join, and they a lot of the times is for a few reasons right now. One, a lot of the Nigerian students that at least that we work with are targeting healthcare related programs. A lot of them have done an undergrad degree, and then they've worked for somewhere between 1 and 4 or 5 years. We don't really want study gaps too much over 5 to 7 years, but like the government specifically, but and then they're applying for master's level healthcare, like personal support worker, nursing on the admin side, that type of thing. And the schools and the Canadian economy needs those jobs to be filled, right? We have labor shortages in every province in like nursing and healthcare related things. So when you have really high quality students that speak amazing English, that have a good candidacy and can actually afford to come and are going to a master's level program with like an over 90% hiring rate depending on the province into the hospitals or the PSW companies, the government wants to approve that, right? Like that's a high quality, educated, awesome person that's coming to study and then do a job that's open, right? And so for that, and also we're able to, because we've built technology, like all the visa forms you can fill out on your computer. We eliminate all the spelling mistakes, issues with addresses. We can help with the statement of purpose. Like that makes it a little bit better.
Okay.
So I think that has a lot to do with that.
Oh, that's exciting. That's
Hmm.
really interesting. I There's a question here from Grace, and she's also from Nigeria, and
Oh,
she
cool.
said the announcement mentions something about professionals of law and medicine. That's
Hmm.
the immigration. Can you please? She just wanted clarifications. Does it affect people doing medicine and law, studying medicine
I
and law?
Yeah, so if it's at the master's level and that's what you're looking for, if she's not currently a student in Canada, like you should be okay to continue to apply and then apply for your study permit when accepted. I know there was also, and I didn't go through every single line of the announcement. They also like PhD programs, I think are also
Exactly.
uncapped. And I think like there are other things. I don't want to misspeak. The articles are pretty clear, but like if it's a master's level, whether it's medicine or law or education, you should be fine. Also, you know, sign up and go through the qualification and verification process, and then just ask our verification or coaching resources. They actually probably know as well or better than I do. But like since the last thing I've seen, that should be fine if
Okay.
it's masters.
There's a question here from Bilal asking, um, do the HALP professionals help with writing SOPs and personal statements?
So we don't ghost write it, so we won't write it for you. Like that's not a thing, but we review and help with strategy and the composition. So essentially, the way that it works is like all the forms will be auto generated on the platform. You will then write out your statement of purpose, and then we will review and like edit it with you to basically say, here, change this, try saying this. This states your case a little bit better of why you want to go from this to this, and showing ties to your home country and different things we know that they're looking for at the immigration office federally. So no one's going to write it for you, and we certainly don't recommend using like an AI tool to write it or anything. It needs to be legit, but they will review it and give you comments, and then you can accept the comments and change stuff around. And then basically, we don't want to submit the study permit until we feel like you're putting your best foot forward, because we want our 83% number to stay the same or go up, right? So
Yeah.
We just won't write it on behalf of somebody, but we will edit with you until we think it's great.
Okay, I think I like that because I always tell people that, coming to Canada, you need to learn to do stuff yourself. Because when you come here, you're gonna, do everything yourself. But
Yes.
I think what's important to note is that there is a coach to guide you every step
Yeah.
of the way. So if you're making a mistake or putting something that shouldn't be there, they will
Yeah.
call your attention to it, which I think it's
Yeah.
really, really helpful, and especially if you're not
And
paid.
especially at the school and program level, like, you have to show progression in the degree and the level of study that you're going for. Like, there's a lot of things that we know that the government's looking for that we can help when we're deciding which school and which program and which level of program and why, and then how you explain all of that together, right? So, the coaches and the immigration professionals on our staff are experts at
Okay, thank you. That's good to
that.
know. Um, I'm not sure if you'll know this, but if someone applied before in December, does this
Mm.
affect them?
So we're still waiting to understand more here. If I'm assuming applied as in like they've submitted their study permit application. Is that
Yes.
okay?
Yes.
So if you submitted a study permit application prior to this announcement, my understanding is that if it is for a master's or not a master's, but in healthcare and or skilled trades, they are still processing, albeit maybe a bit slower. And that from what we understand, and I just don't take this as like the absolute gospel or truth, but the if it was for one of the capped programs, it might be delayed or paused until the provinces release the attestation form
Okay.
processes. Because I think what the government is saying is we're not going to look at any net new study permit applications um, until they have the attestation forms, and that process isn't set up yet. However, I don't know what that means for an application that was already submitted. They might be like still working through those, and so that it's any application submitted on or after January 22nd. I would just, if you submitted it with a immigration consultant or lawyer, I would ask them. If not, like, we'll try to get more clarity on that and like post it onto our socials and that type of thing. I just wouldn't want to steer someone the wrong way, and I'm not a
Okay.
lawyer and I can't give legal advice. So it's more just I think they're grandfathering in that rule starting the 22nd. But from what I've heard, probably there are delays and or you'll have to get the attestation to go forward if it's in under the capped area.
Okay. Chukwemeka, I hope that answers your question. And if you want to know a bit more, you can always reach out to me on send a DM to my Instagram page.
Hmm.
I think we have one or two questions left. Someone wants to
Sure.
know what students can expect from HALP in terms of verification, admission,
Hmm.
enrollment process. And someone said he mentioned a lawyer for PGW. Can he speak more on that? I'm interested.
Hmm. Yeah, so we are only able to provide the free immigration lawyers and process if you submit your application to the school through us, right? So if you've already applied to a school and you already have an LOA, unless you want to go back through the process again, you'll have to, keep going forward on your own or with somebody else. However, if you're willing to reapply to a different school, or you want a different LOA anyways, like, we can do that. But for the students that do go through HALP, basically in verification, there are two components. First, you answer the intake questionnaire. So you sign up for free. The first thing that's in your dashboard is just answering 2 minutes of questions. Based on that, you'll either be qualified or we'll ask you some follow up questions or say, change, get to this level and then come back. But for those that are qualified, you will enter the verification process. If you have, and this is another thing about seriousness, like English translated transcripts, like a photo that shows your whole passport, proof of funds, so a photocopy or a screenshot of a bank account that meets the living requirements plus tuition, generally 30 to 35,000 Canadian. That money is not what you need to use for this process, but you need to be able to show the government that you could pay for your whole year of school if you needed to. And then if we see those things, and we'll talk to you, you can decide to either text with the verification resources or have a call. Once they've validated that, they think that your path makes sense, that the government is interested in what it is that you're going forward. Where is it in the cap? Is it not? They'll also answer questions you have. Then you would become verified at that point if you meet all those criteria. At which point we would start the application process. So you would come through and your coach would work with you to understand, okay, we know you're interested in master's level personal support worker or nursing or healthcare admin, whatever. What schools, what provinces, like, and we'll work based on your criteria: distance from airport, total cost, available scholarships, if any, graduation rates, length of program, co-op, flexible online, offline studies types, like really whatever it is you're looking for to find two or three schools and programs. Then you'll upload all the documents that the schools need. So a lot of times you've already done that, but sometimes they'll require a couple extra things. We then put that into a package. We submit it to the school. That can, like, to get a response for the conditional letter of acceptance, anywhere between 24 hours and 4 weeks, depending on the school. Some of them are really fast at it, some of them aren't so much. And it's a pretty busy time for them right now. So I always think the sooner the better. But once you get the conditional letter of accept, and sometimes there's a fee for that, sometimes we get it waived for submitting the app. Then the next step is the school will say, great, you're accepted. Here's a conditional letter of acceptance. In order to turn it into the actual letter of acceptance, you have to make a tuition deposit. This is what reserves your seat with the school. So sometimes it's can be anywhere from 500 Canadian to 5,000 Canadian, depending on the school. They set that. It's refundable, but essentially you make a deposit to release the acceptance letter. The acceptance letter is what we then take to build the study permit. So at that point, if it's a school that's outside the cap, we would just keep moving forward, where we would then get the other requirements of the study permit, the statement of purpose, all those types of things. This is where the immigration lawyer is helping you one on one. You then have to pay the fee. I think it's like 180 Canadian dollars to the government to submit the study permit application. Once again, the application fees and the study permit application fees are to the schools and the government, not to HALP. That's just part of it, right? That's why we don't want any student that we don't think it's right for to go through it, because you don't want to waste money and time, right? And so, anyways, once you receive your study permit, we will then help you figure out about where to live, banking, getting a telephone set up, like all these different types of things, so that before you get on the plane, you're ready and feel comfortable. And you'll never lose access to your coach. We have a lot of students that are in Canada right now that will still send us a message every once in a while about booking travel home, or wondering about a different grad program after their program, or like whatever it is. Like, you're not cut off or anything, so you still have a bit of a support mechanism when you're in the country. But that's generally the entire experience, from like signing up, verification, enrollment, soft landing.
Okay. That's a lot to take in, but thank you
Yeah,
so
it's a lot of information, I know. Basically,
uh,
if you're, it's more just like if you're targeting a master's level program and or healthcare specifically, it's a really great time, and just have transcripts, passport, proof of funds ready, and you'll fly through the process, and the coach can start working with you right away, and you can
okay.
book calls or text or whatever, and we can get applications submitted, because the schools are open and the government's moving forward with study permits for masters and skilled trades and healthcare.
Healthcare. Okay. So what I'm hearing, just to reiterate, is that healthcare is it's a good program to consider
It's a
for.
good area. There's a lot of programs within it, but like that is a huge labor shortage across the provinces, which means they want to bring in highly qualified, skilled, smart people to train it at the schools and then go into those jobs. So it makes you definitely more likely and hopefully get to the front of the queue for processing. Yeah.
Okay. Um, we're gonna round up really soon, but just a few questions. So there's a question here: is there mature entry for masters? I think, and please correct me if I'm wrong. I think the question is, um, is there an age limit on
Yeah.
the?
So we don't put an age limit on it. Generally, we will say that 5 to 7 years is kind of the longest time since your last studying, that like the government tends to just look at it that way. Now,
Okay.
I'm not saying that if you are, you graduated 12 years ago, there's no chance you get a study permit. It's
Okay.
just that it's a lot more unlikely. The main
Right.
reason is, if you graduated that long ago and you've been working and in that area, you could also be going for the open work permit or the skilled work permit, like different ways, right? So specifically for the study permit, they our immigration lawyers tell us they don't love it when there's more than a 7 year study gap,
Okay.
and that can be from undergrad, right? So like whatever that age limit is, it's more from your last degree completion date. 7 year, like if you're within that 1 to 7 year since you graduated range, it's really compelling. After that, we'll just be very open and honest with you about your odds, and you can decide if you want to move forward because you just see more refusals. Like, because some people will be like in their 40s and highly qualified to go to the school, but it just looks like, are they actually just trying to work? Or are they trying to study? Like, that's how the government will look at that when they're the
Of course.
IRCC when they're processing that. So generally, we look for folks that have 7 or less years on the study gap, preferably five or less.
Okay.
And some people do undergrad a little bit later, which like that can change your actual age, right? So it's just like it's more since you last did your last degree.
Okay. Okay, that's good to know. There's a question here. Ivy says she got admission to Mohawk College through HALP, and she has a few questions, which are, very that relates to her situation.
Okay.
Should the response be contact your HALP coach?
Yeah, if she's submitted an application and paid a tuition deposit to Mohawk College through us, that means she definitely has a coach that she can book a call with today if she wants to.
Okay, so
Because I
okay,
won't have her information up in front of me to
that's
be
what
able
I.
to
Yeah.
understand and advise.
Okay.
But that or yeah, like message whoever it is your coach is. You can phone them. You can book a call with them through your dashboard, and they'll make time for you if you're worried about anything.
Okay, Ivy, that's what I'll do. Or you can reach out to me if you have any more questions, because since you've already paid the tuition deposit, like Matthew said, you can reach out to your coach, and they'll be able to they'll be able to advise you accordingly. And
Hmm.
take one final question from Daniel. I don't know if this is one you can also answer,
Hmm.
but it's, does help with information about funding for those who want to look at the option to fund their studies in Canada? Are there
Hmm.
funding or scholarship options?
Yeah, so this is a really important point. You There are two things: showing proof of funds to the study permit, and then how you end up actually paying for everything. Okay, so you'll not get a study permit if you're unable to show 35,000 Canadian dollars in a bank account. That's just what the government looks for. It's $21,000 for cost of living, which is like food, rent, life, and then whatever your tuition is, which the average will be somewhere around 10 to 15,000, right?
Hmm.
You have to just show that you have that. Now, that's not actually how you end up having to pay. Yes, there are scholarships out there. It's not a guarantee. It's usually school to school. We have a partner, Yorkville University, that does a BBA program. So yes, it's under the cap, but they give a $10,000 scholarship to help students. Now, that doesn't mean they send you $10,000. It just means the price of tuition goes from like 25,000 to 15,000. Because we get that question a lot, and I'm like, I wish. And we will also be able to figure out, like, okay, is there what is the best option if you want to get a loan from the bank for 1 years of studies, and then work to pay that down while you're studying or whatever, right? How you actually pay your fees is different, but you'll never get a study permit to go if you can't prove to the government that, say everything else fell through, you were able to afford a year on your own, because that's what they have decided is the criteria, and they recently raised that. So it's a long way of saying we can provide a lot of different options for you. We don't give scholarships ourselves or like guarantee any of that stuff because nobody can. And if someone's telling you that, that's just not true. But we have relationships with banks and with the schools, and the schools will usually have a relationship also with like a bank or that type of thing that in Canada could potentially give you a loan for the fees that you would then pay back once you're done, or different things. Some students work with sponsors. Some student like there's just a lot of different ways to actually pay, but you'll never be able to get the study permit if you can't show either you or your sponsor shows the proof of funds amount to the government, because that's just actually like a form in the study permit application. But your
That is
coach can provide some options. Yeah.
that is very true, and it's the same. Proof of funds is the same for all other streams.
Yeah,
There's
and it's the every that's not just Nigeria or Ghana or anywhere. That's any single person that's applying for the study permit from anywhere has to just prove that that's there. If whatever, it's not how they actually end up a lot of times
Yeah,
paying the tuition fees, but you got to just show it because they're looking for a certain financial level of applicant, basically.
yeah. That is so true.
Mhm.
Thank you so much, Matthew. There's a final question here. Does HALP help in other countries like the US and UK? Yes, they do. I can tell you that.
Yes. Yeah. So UK, US, and Australia are also countries that we work within, but we are not set up right now to provide the free immigration lawyer for those countries. So we have partners that we get discounts to. We only give the fully free immigration lawyer because we built that partnership and network for Canada first. Eventually, hopefully, yes, but like we can definitely help you apply, get accepted, and then refer immigration consultants or lawyers for those countries. We just like aren't experts at those study permit countries yet, but we do are able to submit the applications to those schools. Yeah.
Okay. I think that answers the question. Thank you so much. Thank you so much, everyone, for joining. And if you want to reach out to HALP, you can use my referral links in the description of the video. Whether you are an international student here in Canada, you want to change courses or programs, or you're a prospective international student in your home country, maybe Nigeria, you can use the link and reach out to HALP. And if you have any questions, reach out to me on Instagram on my you send me a DM at Biba's Canadian Journey. And I honestly cannot sing enough praises for the good people at HALP. So many good stories from my subscribers that have used them, and it's free. So, like I keep saying, the services are free. You have
Mhm.
nothing to lose. Matthew, thank you so much. Have a good day, and until next time, please keep watching Beaver's Canadian Journey. Take care. Bye.
Thank you.